My name is Lauren, and I'm a 36-year-old woman working from home. My husband, Daniel, and I have been married for 3 years. At the time of our marriage, we were both 33 and eager to start a family, so we decided to explore fertility treatments. The results were reassuring, there were no issues. Despite this, we struggled to conceive and were on the verge of giving up. Just when we were losing hope, Daniel remarked, "But my mom and sister, we need to have a successor." I sighed at his comment. While Daniel is generally a good husband, he tends to be quite the mama's boy, always aligning himself with his mother's wishes. I've never had the best relationship with my mother-in-law. Daniel is the eldest son and has a younger sister who left home early due to their mother's favoritism. Daniel's job requires frequent transfers, and when we married, he was working close to his parents' home. He had warned me that relocation might be a possibility, but I was willing to move anywhere as long as we were together. We rented a house near his parents, but my mother-in-law frequently visited on Daniel's days off. Even while I was working from home, she'd find excuses to drop by, often interfering with my work and criticizing my housekeeping skills. Her constant presence and comments about needing a grandchild, especially a boy, were overwhelming. Despite my attempts to address this with Daniel, he would only respond with, "My mom just wants to get along with you, Lauren," which felt overly simplistic and unhelpful. I was initially attracted to Daniel's optimism, a trait I lack, and believed we balanced each other well. However, this issue created a significant rift. 6 months ago, Daniel's job transfer was finalized, and we moved away from his parents' house to a new place. This new location is further from my parents' home, but it's in a thriving area, similar to a regional city in Nebraska, with good public transportation and infrastructure. It's less than an hour's drive from my parents' house. Since the move, my stress has diminished significantly. I can now focus on my work, and life has become more comfortable. Recently, I discovered that I'm pregnant. Daniel and I embraced each other with joy. Although I have some concerns due to my age, this pregnancy is the fulfillment of a long-held dream. When we shared the news of our baby with Daniel's parents, my mother-in-law immediately asked, "It's a boy, right?" Even though Daniel explained that we didn't know the gender yet, she insisted it had to be a boy. When our baby turned out to be a girl, my mother-in-law called me privately, while Daniel was away, and said, "You're really useless. What did you marry into this family for?" Overwhelmed and emotionally unstable, I broke down in tears. When Daniel came home and saw me crying, he got angry. Upon hearing what had happened, he shouted, "Are you saying my mom is wrong?" This only made me cry harder. Despite this, Daniel continues to be a caring husband who helps with household chores. As long as his mother isn't involved, I managed to safely deliver the baby, and a month later, we returned home. When Daniel picked me up from my hometown, I was surprised to find my mother-in-law waiting at our house. I hadn't expected her to visit, but Daniel cheerfully announced, "My mom came to help." While Daniel was in another room calming our daughter, my mother-in-law pulled out a cake from the refrigerator. "This is to celebrate your childbirth," she said. "I'm sure you didn't get to enjoy any good food while you were out in the countryside." Her tone was irritating, but I tried to overlook it. She handed me the cake box, saying, "This cake cost $500. I was stunned. I had never heard of such an expensive cake. Curious, I opened the box, but was immediately disappointed. The cake's whipped cream was dried out, and the fruit topping consisted of canned oranges. It was clear that this cake did not live up to its supposed $500 price tag. I love sweets and usually appreciate any cake, but this one was a letdown. The situation escalated when my mother-in-law, noticing my reaction, grinned and asked, "So, how's the $500 cake?" I lost my temper, threw the cake and box into the trash, and demanded, "Please leave." My husband, hearing the commotion, rushed into the room. Before I could explain, my mother-in-law was already crying to him. "Lauren is being so mean." She pointed at the trash can, and Daniel's anger flared. "What the hell did you do?" That cake was something my mom went through a lot of trouble to make. In the heat of the moment, my mother-in-law added, "Yes, that's right, I made that cake, so it's worth $500. I replied, "Ah, so that's what it was." There's no way that cake was worth $500. Even if it were priced at $50 or even $5, I wouldn't buy it. Everything suddenly clicked into place. No bakery would ever produce such a disrespectful cake. As I processed the situation, my husband shouted, "Lauren, apologize to Mom." It seemed that no matter what, he always sided with his mother. In a daze, I heard our daughter crying from the other room. a sound I hadn't anticipated since I thought she was asleep. My priority shifted immediately, and I rushed to her. Amid the noise from the other side of the door, my daughter needed me most. After finally calming her down, I returned to the living room to find a note from Daniel and his mother. It read that they had gone out to eat and that I should reflect on my actions. I was stunned. The thought of running to my parents crossed my mind, but I hesitated, unsure if it was the right thing to do. With nowhere else to turn, I glanced at the trash can where I had thrown the cake. It sat untouched, just as I had left it. On impulse, I decided to take a photo. When I called my parents and told them everything, my father agreed to come pick me up immediately. I felt a pang of regret for leaving my newborn daughter behind, but moving was better than staying in that toxic environment. My father arrived first and began loading our things into his car. Just as he was finishing, Daniel and my mother-in-law came home, looking shocked to find my father there. Their surprise quickly turned to anger when they saw him with our belongings. "Where are you going? Running back to your parents again? You always flee when things go wrong," Daniel snapped, his words harsher than usual. It was clear he had been drinking, his face was flushed, and he reeked of alcohol. Seeing his condition pushed me over the edge. "You went out drinking, leaving your wife and newborn daughter at home. I couldn't stand being in the same space as you right now, so I turned to my parents." My mother-in-law, also smelling of alcohol, added, "It's good riddance to a daughter-in-law like you." Her comments only furthered my frustration. "Fine, as you wish. I'll take my daughter and leave. Enjoy your time alone with my husband," I said. Daniel looked bewildered, but I ignored him and got into my father's car. My father remained silent, clearly trying to control his emotions. The next day, my husband called me, sounding confused. "Where are you? I was surprised to find you gone when I woke up." I sighed. "I forgot that you tend to forget things when you drink. Don't you remember? You left me and our daughter at home to go out with your mother, and then came back drunk. After how we were treated, I couldn't stay." While Daniel's voice was full of surprise and fluster, I could hear my mother-in-law's voice faintly in the background, anger from the previous day still simmering. I said, "So your mother is staying over?" I refuse to return to a home where someone so rude is present. "What do you mean?" Daniel's voice dropped in tone. "She might be your mother, but to me, she's a stranger. I'm exhausted from childbirth and simply can't deal with her right now. Do you realize she was the main cause of our infertility issues? Her constant visits and stress were unbearable. I managed to get pregnant quickly once she stopped coming around." I was relieved not to see her face, but now that I've returned home with our daughter, there she is again. I know I'm saying hurtful things, but I can't help it. Daniel's voice raised in frustration. "You're the worst. Come back right now and apologize to my mom." For a moment, it felt like time had stopped. I responded, "What?" as if in disbelief. Then I added coldly, "The reason I'm here with our child is because of your mother's behavior." Daniel sounded perplexed. "What? What are you talking about? Your mother didn't want a daughter. She's always said that, right? She wanted us to have a son." I didn't realize she was so serious until I saw that cake. "What cake?" "The cake. Didn't you notice the chocolate plate?" I had hit the mark. The trash can where I had thrown away the cake was still as it was from yesterday. I instructed Daniel to check the kitchen trash can. "There's nothing in here." "Did she dispose of the evidence during the night? Ask your mother what was written on the chocolate plate and where she threw it." I heard the exchange on the other end as Daniel's mother denied any knowledge of the chocolate plate and refused to reveal where it was discarded. "So what does Daniel say?" "She's denying knowing anything about the plate." Daniel sounded unsure and hesitant. "Right? It would be terrible if you had to face the plate's message. It's likely she got rid of it before you saw it." Daniel's voice grew darker as he realized the situation. Amidst his confusion, I heard my mother-in-law's voice. "Why don't you hurry up and come home? Tell her to entertain me. She's a really useless daughter-in-law." At her remark, it seemed Daniel was finally trying to manage his mother's demands. "I'm going to hang up now and send a text. Maybe you and your mother should read it together. Contact me again when you're ready to talk," I said before ending the call. I quickly sent all the photos of the cake and the chocolate plate to my husband. Within 30 minutes, he called back, saying he would come over immediately. I stopped him. "My father-in-law should be arriving soon. Stay where you are," I instructed before hanging up. In reality, my father had been so infuriated by my husband's behavior the previous day that he contacted my in-laws. He reported everything to my father-in-law, who, unaware of the situation, had apologized profusely and said he would speak to my husband. By evening, my husband and his parents arrived at my parents' house. As soon as he arrived, my husband bowed deeply and apologized. I'm not aware of what's been happening or what my mother has said to you. I had no idea. Seeing his seemingly contrite demeanor, I felt a coldness settle over me. Isn't it a bit late to claim ignorance? We discussed these issues before we moved. Despite that, you sided with your mother, insisting she was just trying to connect with me and did nothing to address her behavior. My husband's face grew pale. And you always said your mother was fixated on us having a son. Are you planning to always cater to her demands? Since you've clearly chosen your mother over your wife, maybe you don't need me after all. Desperate, he clung to me. That's not true. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean for any of this. If that's the case, then what did you mean? I shot back. He was left speechless, his gaze dropping. In my mind, I thought, Daniel, you've chosen your mother over your own wife and daughter, a mother obsessed with her eldest son and a husband who can't break free from her influence. It's no wonder your sister left home early. At that moment, Daniel retorted, I'm not a mama's boy. I care about you too. Then could you truly cut ties with your mother? I challenged. He fell silent. As I sighed, my mother-in-law, who had been brought here by my father-in-law, shouted, how can you say such a thing? Daniel and I are mother and son. We can never sever our ties. His father tried to calm her down, but she continued to protest. To be honest, I never really liked you. I wanted a younger wife for Daniel. Is that so? In that case, I'll divorce you right now. I have the papers ready. If we divorce, we can go our separate ways. At this, my husband's face turned ashen as he looked at me in shock. I refused to maintain any relationship with someone who would write such horrible messages on a cake plate. I said this as I pulled out my phone and showed everyone the picture of the plate, which read, take your daughter and leave. Upon seeing this, my father-in-law, who seemed to be unaware of the full situation, turned pale and yelled at his wife, what have you done to your own daughter-in-law? I was taken aback. It seemed that my mother-in-law had previously served a birthday cake to her own daughter with the message, I don't need a daughter, written on it, leading to their estrangement. It was clear she harbored a deep-seated resentment towards women. Perhaps she felt that excluding the women in her life would bring her more attention. Her son, Daniel, was clearly following in her footsteps. When I presented the divorce papers to my husband, he started making excuses. We've just had a child. We shouldn't be getting a divorce over this. My mom went too far this time, but she was just jealous. Try to understand. Is that really why you came here? I thought you'd tell me you were cutting ties with your mother and coming back to me. I'm never going back to that house. At this, my father-in-law, who had been silently fuming, spoke up. Daniel, sign the divorce papers. I've had enough of this family. When I get home, I'm divorcing your mother as well. What? His mother spun around in shock at his unexpected declaration. I've considered it before, but I always thought it was too late to divorce and that patience was required. But now, seeing how you're treating another woman the same way, I've reached my breaking point. Sign the papers and leave. Reluctantly, my husband signed the divorce papers under his father's directive. As a form of compensation, I received around $10,000 from my father-in-law. Initially, I hesitated, but he insisted it would be deducted from his wife's assets, so I accepted gratefully. My ex-in-laws indeed went through with their divorce. His mother, who had not worked since their marriage, lost all her money from the property settlement after investing it in a dubious cryptocurrency scheme. Meanwhile, I receive monthly child support from Daniel and am raising our daughter with my parents' help. I'm thrilled to see our daughter growing up and thriving.